Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are absolutely tearing down one of the biggest myths about money. It's this idea that the safe path is the best way to build wealth. But what if I told you that all that slow, steady advice you've always heard is actually the riskiest financial plan you could possibly follow?
Normal is not something to aspire to, it's something to get away from. This quote from Jodie Foster, it pretty much sets the stage for everything we're going to talk about. We're here to question what's normal when it comes to financial advice and ask a really simple but powerful question. Is that well-worn path really taking us where we want to go?
So to really get what the author's driving at, let's just imagine something for a second. Picture this, you're flipping channels and you land on a classic episode of MTV Cribs. The camera is panning across this gorgeous Palm Beach coastline, and it settles on an absolutely enormous mansion.
Inside, the host is talking to the owner, a 22-year-old who calls himself Big Daddy Who, and he's showing off this car collection that looks like something out of a movie. We're talking a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, a Rolls Royce. The host is just completely blown away and finally asks the million-dollar question: how in the world did you afford all of this? And this is where the record just scratches to a halt. Big Daddy Who looks right at the camera, dead serious, and says he got rich by popping fat money into his 401k at his job, at the local cell phone store. It's just so ridiculous, right? You can't help but laugh. And that is exactly the point. So, that crazy MTV scene we just imagined, it's there for a reason. It's meant to expose what the author calls the get-rich-slow deception. We laugh because, deep down, we know it's true. Young people do not become millionaires by following the conventional financial playbook. Does this whole thing sound familiar? Go to school, get a good job, max out your 401k. This is the script we're all handed. It's the standard financial plan that, just about every expert has been pushing for, forever. The promise is simple. Just play it safe, save your money, and one day, way, way off in the future, you'll get your reward. They lay out this whole path for us like it's some kind of surefire formula. But just look at the timeline it suggests. It's a slow, winding, decades-long journey where the big prize is locked away until the very, very end of your working life. And this brings us right back to Big Daddy Who. I mean, if this plan actually works, where are all the young millionaires who got rich by maxing out their 401k and clipping coupons? Seriously, think about it. Have you ever met one? The blunt answer? They don't exist. The author calls them fairy tales of impossibility. Why? Because the get-rich-slow path is, by its very design, mathematically incapable of creating huge wealth on a fast timeline. Okay, so if this path isn't making young people rich, what is the real problem with it? Well, the argument is that it's not a safe plan at all. In fact, it's a 50-year gamble. The whole strategy is a losing game because its foundation is just flawed. It eats up your entire adult life. Its success is totally dependent on the whims of Wall Street. And most importantly, it's anchored by time. Your most precious, finite resource, your life. That's the chip you're betting with. The author really doesn't mince words here. This path isn't some brightly lit, safe highway to wealth. No, it's called a dirty, rotten alley. And that's because you're completely dependent on forces you can't control, like the market, and you're wagering decades of your life on the outcome. And if you want to put a number on that risk, think about this. Your entire 40-year plan can be completely wiped out by just one bad market crash. A 40% drop could erase years and years of savings in a flash. Is that really a risk you're willing to bet your entire life on? Okay, but let's just say you play the game and you actually win this 50-year gamble. What does that prize really look like when you finally get to the finish line? The source has a pretty grim name for it: wealth in a wheelchair. And this is the deal you're making at the heart of the get-rich-slow plan. You're being asked to sacrifice your youth, your energy, your dreams, your today, all for the promise of a wealthy tomorrow. A tomorrow that only shows up after most of your life has already passed you by. There's this quote from a wealthy investor that just hits the nail on the head. He's showing a young guy his Ferrari, and he says, kid, when you finally can afford a toy like this, you're almost too old to enjoy it. It's a stark warning. The reward often comes way too late. So what you're looking at here is really a tale of two completely different futures. On one side, you've got the traditional picture of retirement: old age, maybe declining health, what the author cynically calls a waiting room for death. And on the other side, a totally reinvented idea: wealth combined with youth, vibrancy, and the freedom to actually go out and live your dreams.
All right, so if the old way is a total gamble, what's the alternative? What does this reinvented retirement even look like? Well, the argument is that the alternative isn't about picking a new stock, it's about completely redefining the goal itself.
See? The real goal here isn't just to have a fat bank account when you're old. It's about redefining what wealth even means. It's about building a life where use and fun and real freedom are essential parts of prosperity, not things you trade in to cash out later. And that brings us to the biggest, most controversial idea of all. The real deception, the real BS, isn't a bad stock tip or a market crash. It's the belief we've all been sold, that you have to be old to retire, that trading your youth for wealth is the only way to do it. So, all of this really boils down to one crucial question you have to ask yourself. Is your financial plan a trade, or is it a gamble? Are you betting your one precious life on some uncertain outcome decades from now? Or are you looking for a path that actually combines wealth with freedom and youth and energy? Ultimately, the only question that really matters is, which path are you on?